So hello everyone, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today to learn about creating a safety culture for CU Denver's Safe Return. My name is Elena Jones. I am the Interim Vice Provost and Senior Vice Chancellor for Student Success. I have also been co-leading the Safe Return project with Dean Paul Teske, Associate Dean Kelly Hupfeld, and with so many other esteemed colleagues who have devoted their time and energy to CU Denver's Safe Return. For many of us, talking to our colleagues or fellow students about day-to-day safety behaviors is new. We may have comfort and experience talking about safety in a lab setting, in the studio, in the wellness center, during field trips, or study abroad travel. But this pandemic has necessitated that we build knowledge of new safety protocols and build capacity and comfort to have new types of conversations that we have never had before. And like anything, the more we educate ourselves, the more fun we have while doing it, and the more we practice new skills and language, the more comfortable we will be in creating, protecting, and nurturing our safety culture. This is all of our responsibility. This training is just a start. In order for you to gain effectiveness and comfort with establishing safety culture, you will need to practice what you learn with your colleagues and fellow students. This training has 3 objectives. 1, to orient you to the Safe Return health and safety information provided online. 2, to orient you to the principles behind building and maintaining a safety culture. And 3, to provide training on having critical conversations about adherence to safety protocols. There are 3 of us that will be speaking, myself, LACEY, Debbie, and they will each introduce themselves when they start their portion of the session. Please note that we are recording the session for those that were unable to attend today or for those that want to review this information again. We will not be answering questions live verbally, and you will all remain muted, but we also have panelists that are available to answer your questions in the Q&A function. They can answer your questions about Safe Return in general, about specific safety questions, about student conduct, and about critical conversations. So with that, let's get started. So first, we want to orient you to the website and the resources that we have available. So the easiest way to get there is to just go to the CU Denver homepage. So when you go to CU Denver homepage, what you will see is a Safe Return banner, Fall 2020, and then important information in this black text box here. When you click on that, it takes you to our Safe Return website. And if you have not been here yet, I really encourage you to do so. Our communications team and so many others have been working so hard to quickly update this site with the real-time information that is available. This will be where the most recent information is kept. And so if you haven't been to the site yet, please do make your way to visit this site. There's a lot of information here. In this training, we're really going to focus on the health and safety portion. But there's other resources for students, faculty and staff, and some of the information as related to the planning process and the implementation process. One thing I really want to point out to everyone is the FAQs. There has been a lot of time and effort put behind developing these FAQs. So if you have a question, I really do encourage you to start there to look because I think you'll find many of the questions that you may have. But if you don't, there's plenty of resources available to you to ask your question. So you will see on our Safe Return website that returning to campus and the steps that you must take are front and center. There are requirements in order to be on campus. Before you arrive, which includes a training, And this links directly to the training that is found in Skillsoft. Please be aware that we are in the process of updating our training. Right now, it's a CU Denver, CU Anschutz training module, but we're in the process of creating one that's just for CU Denver. Our colleagues at the CU System Office are in the process of updating that for us, and that will be launching shortly. But this is now directly linking to the module, which is fantastic because we've had some challenges with people being able to navigate there. But this is a training that everyone is required to take. There's excellent information in here. You should allow around 30 minutes in order to take the training. Every day when someone comes to campus, faculty, staff, student, or visitor, they will be required to do a daily health attestation. And this will take you to your university login where you fill out questions. Something that's very interesting and important for all of you to know as related to critical conversations about safety is that every single day with the daily health attestation, you are committing to upholding the safety protocols. Now, someone may forget that they have made that commitment that day, but that's something for you to keep in mind, is that every single person will have made that commitment. This also has information about health check-in stations, information about access to campus, our safety protocols. This is a fantastic graphic that you can also put, there's a version that you can put in your email signature, and then information about health check-in stations. This is going to be changing in the next couple of weeks, so I encourage you to come back and see what the new locations are going to be in the new hours. So when we go to the health and safety portion, which is our focus for today, again, you are going to see health and safety FAQs. So please feel free and please utilize those. There's an introduction section. It goes into the steps, the 6 steps that are required as related to coming to campus. So the training that we talked about, the daily health attestation, check-in at a health check-in station. Again, we will be having more than these 2 very soon. You will get a color-coded wristband. You will need to carry your ID badge. And then you'll need to be aware that most buildings are going to have a designated entrance and a designated egress. So part of our safety culture and part of our safety protocols is very specific ways of entering and exiting so that we can maintain our social distancing. Guidance about while you are on campus, what is required of all of us while we are on campus, and for your information, on the area portion of campus, there are yard signs being put up all around campus reminding people about what is required, because obviously we're a public campus, so there'll be people that are walking through that may not be aware. So yard signs are being put around campus. Then we have information about if you may have COVID-19, and information here about how you report a positive diagnosis. Information about our contact tracing team who are going to be reporting to LACEY. Information about our building and cleaning protocols. There's brand new information here and very comprehensive information about building and room protocols and cleaning protocols. So let's click on the building protocols version, and when this loads, what you'll find is some very detailed information as related to our building protocols. Building entry, elevators, stairwells, hallways, restrooms, common areas, vendors and retail food services, signage and links in order to obtain those signs, information about hand sanitizer, guest access, guidance relative to drinking fountains and bottle fillers, room protocols as related to classrooms and instructional labs, office suites, and research and creative activity spaces. This is very important for everyone to review. It's very important to be clear about what will be general responsibilities for general cleaning services for the university, and what will be the responsibility of you and your colleagues as related to your spaces. And then we also have cleaning protocols And I won't go through all of this, but obviously this gets into more detail as related to the cleaning protocols and is very good information here. The last thing that I want to mention before I hand it over to LACEY is that we have created a handout. When you received your reminder for this training session, there was a link at the bottom. We will also work to get this linked out to everybody. But this is in a temporary space until we got everything connected and sorted. But what is in this document is some reference information for you and resource information for you as related to what we're going to talk about today. So let me just orient you to that really quickly. That includes some conversation flows that Debbie Lammers will go into a bit more. And here's something that you can print for yourself that may be of use as you're practicing. Some contact information for resources that you may need. The Dean of Students Office has created this fantastic faculty guide for holding students accountable for health mandates. It's important to know that the CU Denver Code of Conduct, Appendix 4 has been updated for our particular situation. And then there's additional content in this link that includes information that Debbie will be going through in the training. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to LACEY.
Hi everyone, my name is LACEY KLINDT and I'm an environmental health specialist at the CU Anschutz campus, but I am currently helping out the CU Denver campus with student ambassadors who will be helping to guide people on campus and check in people at the checkpoints. And I'm also helping to manage new contact tracer students for the CU Denver campus. My colleague, her name is Julie McMillan. She is also an environmental health specialist. She is actually the full-time EHS person for the downtown campus, and she also works at Anschutz occasionally as well. But Julie is the main person. I'm just helping out until things get settled. So what I wanted to talk about today is just how we create a safety culture as environmental health specialists and how we can all create a safety culture without having to be a professional environmental health specialist. So in terms of making that culture, you want to have a few simple goals. So for example, you'd like to lead a safety culture by example. And one way to do that is to just basically wear your PPE and wash your hands and use hand sanitizer. And if someone does get close to you and they're not social distancing, you can be nice and courteous, but say, hey, I'd really like to stand next to you, but I'm just going to take a couple of steps back. Or I'd really love to shake your hand, but I think maybe we can just do an air elbow bump for today. And that's a few really simple ways to lead by example. So if you are exuding safety yourself, people will then have the idea that, well, maybe this isn't so boring, or maybe this isn't so bad. Maybe I can do this too. And that leads me to the next goal, which is making it easy and or making it fun. So I put a few examples down at the bottom of the slide. There's a traditional sign of, in case of fire, use stairway. Of course, that's traditional and that's safe and everyone knows what that means. And that's a great sign. But if you were kind of just casually talking or casually emailing friends or colleagues, you know, you can always make something a little bit humorous, like the cartoon example on the right bottom of the slide. It says, in case of fire, take the stairs. So the guy is actually literally carrying the stairs away with him, which is obviously not reality, but it makes it a little bit funny and a little bit more lighthearted. Another thing to make it fun, or as the next goal states, think outside of the box. So at CU and Shoots, we have nearly the same daily attestation or daily wellness form, but we were trying to think of a way to get outside of the box of just having signs everywhere, but we wanted to get the QR code out to everyone, because originally we had one QR code that changed. And so we wanted to get the new QR code out very deliberately and very quickly. So what we did is we made business cards that have the new QR code on it. And what we did is we encourage people to put them in their badge holder. And so then they have the daily QR code form on their badge all the time. And so we decided that would be a little bit creative, and it gets the message out and it's professional, but it's just a little bit different than emailing something to 5,000 people. So some other ways to create a safety culture around you and within the workforce or people that you are working with. You want to have stories or examples, and that helps people think that you're not just stating a regulation, or you're just, this is the way it is, but there's no examples. So, sometimes I'll say something like, hey, last week I saw, and I'll say, a person wearing a lanyard with a hand sanitizer necklace, and it was so cool. Or once I knew a person that actually did get COVID, and they unfortunately passed away. So for me, I take it very seriously because of this person that I knew that actually did pass away. So if you have stories to share about safety culture, it makes it more real for you, and it makes it more real to the people you're trying to gain compliance through, or just have them buy in on the safety culture in general. Anytime for the next goal, anytime you're trying to get someone to buy into safety culture or learn something, you want to try to deliver the information quickly with intent. And by that, I mean, don't spend 15 to 20 to 30 minutes talking about why you should wash your hands. Just say, you should really wash your hands because it's going to prevent, the spread of disease. Or, you should really do the daily attestation form before you come to work, and not at work, because you have to take your temperature at home with a thermometer. So there's no really other good way to explain it other than don't spend too much time on simple things. Just tell them the information and do it with intent and detail. And then one of the last goals that I want to talk about for spreading the safety culture around, it's really around the world, but around the people that you work with, is to make them feel part of a team, especially now with everyone being separated physically and separated at home and work, and half of us are sitting at home on a computer. It's very easy to start feeling lonely, like no one understands me, or I just don't feel part of this campus anymore, or I just don't feel like part of my workforce anymore, and everything is very strange and lonely. If you make people feel part of your team, even if it's not a real team, but it's just a cohort of people, it's going to make them buy into safety and the safety culture even more, and it will probably make them feel better as well. And so things you want to do in order to get that across is say things like, well, we can all wear our masks together, or all of us are going through the same thing in different ways, so I definitely understand that. Or using words like everyone, like, well, everyone's lives are different now, and we all understand that, but washing your hands is still very important. Or let's all do the daily attestation form just 6 feet apart. So you're still together, but you're still apart, so to speak. I can't speak enough to the fact that if you just make people feel a part of your team and make them feel like safety and this culture of being safe is actually cool and not that bad, people will buy in so much faster than you think. If you're, approaching people in a confrontational, regulatory manner, you will get way less buy-in on the safety culture. So it has to be very friendly and fun. And, to be honest, for my closing, there's probably going to be 5 to 10% of people who are either in a bad mood or grouchy, or they just don't want to do it, or something's going on in their life where they're going to give a bad attitude no matter what you try. And that's fine. You just have to say, well, okay, I can understand that. And you almost want to be apologetic and say, well, I'm sorry, but I hope you have a great day. Because if someone is not going to wear a mask, you're not going to be able to force them to wear a mask. Or if they're not going to wash their hands, they will not do it. So you have to recognize that point of the conversation when no matter what you say, they will not change their mind. And at that point, you have to let it go and just give them a friendly goodbye. And that's basically how you would have to handle some situation like that. So with that, I'm going to hand it back. And thank you guys for letting me speak for a few minutes.
Thank you so much, Lacey. Greatly appreciate that. And thank you so much for taking the lead with supervising our contact tracers, supervising our ambassadors, our safe return student ambassadors, and thank you for all the leadership and support you're providing to us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So next, Lacey spoke a bit about conversations, and Debbie Lammers is going to help us dig a little bit deeper into that and help us go through a brief training relative to how we can have critical conversations about safety. Debbie, over to you. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. I'll do just a really quick introduction of myself as well for anyone on the call who does not know me. I'm the Director of Learning and Development, and I work out of Central HR. I've been with the university for over 2 years. My background is primarily leadership development, soft skills training, so things around conversations, how to interact with others. And I'm here today to just go through some simple steps of some things you could do during these types of conversations that will help you to hopefully either de-escalate the emotions, or as Lacey was speaking to, have those conversations briefly and quickly and getting to the point. So this slide is really just I wanted to have this up here because, as Alana was saying, and even Lacey, we have a new set of norms, right? And we're going to be having conversations now around things like, did you do your wellness check? And are you wearing your CU Denver ID? I know when I worked downtown, I always wore my badge, and people downtown would say, well, why do you wear that? And I'm like, well, I also work on Anschutz, and you're required to wear it all the time. So it's just a norm for me. This might not be a norm for some folks. Maintain a distance, wearing face coverings, all of those things. So hopefully what I'll be able to do today is just give you some insight into what happens when people are faced with a critical conversation. So first off, when we think about critical conversations, our goal and our purpose is to have open dialogue. And critical conversations, it's really around tough issues, and we need to speak to those candidly, but also with respect and with some skill. And so our goal when we're having any of these types of conversations, and whether that's around safety or anything else, our biggest goals are to maintain mutual purpose and to have respect. The person you're talking to, they need to believe you care about them. They need to trust in your motives as to why you're having that conversation or why you're telling them what they need to be doing. And then they also need to believe that you respect them, because people are going to have different views. They just maybe aren't comfortable wearing masks, or a variety of other things. So we really want to keep those things in mind. So what I'm going to share with you, and the handout that was referred to earlier on has all of this in there in quite a bit more detail. But in any typical interaction, you go from an open to a close, and in between there you have, you're clarifying what you're talking about, you're developing agreement, you reach that agreement, and then you close it out with a thank you or something of those of those sort of magnitudes. Some key principles that you want to keep in mind are things like maintaining the other person's self-esteem, listening and responding with empathy. People are on high alert right now. Their emotions are running high. It's going to be scary, especially the first several weeks back on the campus. Ask for help and encourage involvement, sharing feelings, thoughts, and rationale, and we'll talk about that. It's a way to build trust. And then provide support without removing responsibility, because we still want some sort of action to happen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through the process of if you have to be faced with one of these conversations. So our ultimate goal is to get agreement in some form. And so the first key principle that I'm going to talk to is maintaining self-esteem. And really what we're trying to do is just really focus on the facts, right? It's not about the person. It's not about how they're doing it. It's really, you're verbally advised that there's some sort of noncompliance, like, please make sure you have your mask up and you're wearing it, or please make sure that you're doing the proper hygiene in your particular areas. So we want to focus on the facts, but still maintaining respect. Probably the majority of our conversations are going to stop here. There's going to be agreements like, yeah, sorry, I was just having a drink of water. I forgot to put my mask on. And yeah, I forgot to do that. And people are going to be accommodating, right? So, if we think about it, that most of our conversations will end here with a thank you for thank you for doing your part to keep us linked strong. After that, hopefully this is where it ends. If there's some form of disagreement, right? So same thing happens. You have a conversation. You notice somebody isn't wearing their mask is the example I'll use. We're going to still maintain the key principle of the self-esteem, focusing on the facts. But now we need to start thinking about listening and responding with empathy. We're trying to diffuse the negative emotions or not get to those negative emotions. We want to empathize with the positive feelings, and we want to respond with both facts and feelings. So same scenario, if we didn't initially get the agreement, what we would go to is something similar to, well, remember that in order to obtain access to campus today, you attested that you would abide by campus safe return rules. What's changed? Right? You're giving them the opportunity to respond as to, why am I feeling uncomfortable, or why didn't I do what was asked of me that I originally said, yes, I would do that. Again, probably another small amount of conversations here. We should end with the agreement. Person says, right, I just really wasn't thinking about it. Yes, I did say I was going to do this. And hopefully you're keeping these conversations quick and short and could get to that agreement that they do whatever it is that you're asking of them. If it escalates beyond that, where, okay, didn't get agreement to the first statement, and you've gone to the second type of statements and reminded them of their responsibility to do that, then we need to have a further conversation. And this brings into play a third key principle, which is share thoughts, feelings, and rationale. And this is offering the whys, right? Why is it that we need to do this? We're all in the same boat. We all need to attest to these particular safety protocols, and be honest. Right? Be honest with the individuals you're talking to. So if you've gone through and you've had that same conversation and it goes to this point, it could sound something like, adding on, it sounds like you've changed your mind, which is absolutely your right. I understand that. It also means you need to depart the campus now. Right? We cannot be flexible. If I think back to what LACEY was saying, and it's like, lead by example, right? We show the safety, we're wearing the mask, we're washing our hands, we're keeping distance. We also need to show that we have to stand to what this means, because if we let one or two people slip by and it goes, then other people are going to see that. You don't know who's standing around you. So by us leading by example and being firm to that, then we're going to show that, yes, we really are being serious. We really are looking out for everyone's safety, not just a person's safety. Now, hopefully, and I would probably say, and I agree with LACEY when she said there's probably 5 to 10% of the people out there that just might be moody. They might be having a bad day. We're thinking this is probably no more than 1% of your conversations that you might have to have. If you've done all of these things, you've explained that they're going to have to leave campus and say, no, I got to go to class and this is what I'm going to do, or no, I have to be here at this particular time. We're still using all those same key principles I talked about, but now we're going to add something in what's called provide support without removing responsibility. We want to help others to think and do. We want to be realistic about what you can do and what the other person's responsibility is. And again, we're setting the example, we're standing strong with this. So if we have to go a step further, a sample conversation could end with, because you have refused to follow through with your safety obligations and are also refusing to leave campus, unfortunately, I'm obligated to report you to student conduct, human resources, whatever that chain is. And I will also need to contact building security if you're unable to leave or unwilling to leave. Again, it's just, doing it in an empathetic way, understanding, and really listening to them, because they are probably going to have something to say. But if you can maintain your emotion, if you can maintain your rationale and not buy into or get into the emotional state that they're in, you could hopefully help keep a calm presence and help to de-escalate that emotion that that person is having at that time. I mean, one of the biggest things when you research critical conversations is critical conversations are driven a lot by fear. The fear of the unknown, the fear of what does it mean to me, or how is this going to affect me? So if we could keep that in mind when we're having these conversations, that the other person might just be fearing something, there might be something else going on with them that you're not aware of, and the more calm we can stay, the better the conversation is going to go. Now, some things to watch out for, and I always like to bring this up because sometimes we get so wrapped up in the conversation, we forget to look for different signs that are going on. And it's all about the nonverbal communication. It's not only our nonverbals, but what's happening with the other person. Are they showing physical signs of change, such as they're starting to fidget, their facial expressions change, their body language is getting a little bit more tense? Then, it might be time to rethink how we're having the conversation. Are their emotions changing? Are their words becoming different? Are they getting louder? Are they, becoming more aggressive in their emotions? And then lastly, what are their behavioral changes? Right? So again, that goes to aggression. Are there more outbursts? Are they pointing fingers? Are they just storming off and leaving the area and not finishing the conversation? Those are signs that you're going to want to watch out for, which then you could think about doing some of the things on the next slide, which are things like apologize. I'm sorry if this is upsetting you. However, we do need to have this conversation. I really need you to understand the importance of maintaining the safety protocols. You could use contrasting statements with purpose or intent if purpose or intent are misunderstood. Things like, I don't want you to take this wrong. I do want you to understand this. Getting back to that mutual purpose and mutual agreement, right? We all agreed we would adhere by the safety protocols for returning to campus. Ask open-ended questions if you're not getting any answers from the person. And then lastly, which is really important, is listen for intent, not to formulate your reply. A lot of times as we're listening to somebody talk, we're instantly trying to think of how are we going to respond to that? And then we miss some key things in the conversation with the person. So we really want to listen for that intent before we then join into the conversation. So what are your next steps? Practice, practice, practice. Practice on your own, practice within your unit. If you're a person that likes to practice in front of the mirror, practice in front of the mirror, what works for you. Some other resources we provide as far as human resources and learning and development. There are other courses out there that really go into critical conversations or crucial conversations, communicating as a leader, where we emphasize things like emotional intelligence and how you have these conversations. We're also in the process of developing several boot camps which help you to just practice these things, right? They're set up to be practice sessions, very small groups, to practice having those conversations, to practice doing other things. So keep an eye out for those things as well. And then you're always welcome to visit our newly designed website. Learning Development has a great presence there now, and you could find all kinds of information about what we offer and how to reach my department if there's anything we can help you with. With that, Lena, I'm turning it back over to you.
Thank you so much, Debbie. Really appreciate that. Really great guidance, and so grateful to you, Debbie, and to you, Lacey, for sharing this information with everyone. But one of the things I want to just say in closing is that in addition to all the thanks for everyone for helping us pull this together, and thanks to all of you, because it really is going to take all of us to work together to create, maintain, and nurture this safety culture that we're all building together. This is new, this is different, this isn't anything we've done before. So I really want to re-emphasize that it is truly important that you practice. If you've never had to say the words, never had them come out of your mouth to talk to someone about pulling up their mask or staying distance, it's going to feel strange that first time you do it. So practice on your colleagues. Practice with the words that make the most sense to you and that really feel like a part of who you are, and enable you to say it with conviction and with positivity. Please make this fun. You know, there's no reason why we can't have contests for the best masks or the best unit safety culture or best signage. There's all sorts of opportunities to use your creativity. Safety does not have to be uncreative. It can be fun, and we really encourage you to do that. And we also really encourage you to walk the walk, to tell your why, to tell your own stories, and to have things like pictures of you with your mask on, or maybe a logo with a mask on, or something that really starts to acculturate this to everyone as part of our norm. So with that, I want to thank all of you for joining us today, for participating in this training. It is a very short training. We really do encourage you to take your learnings from this and build from it. And thank you to Debbie for sharing all the additional training resources available to everyone. Thank you very much for joining us. Please let us know if you have any questions.